Welcome to the first ever What's New in Digital conversation with No Typical Moments. And today I brought on one of our advertisers, Derek, who's running numerous accounts for us, has a plethora of experience in digital to dive straight into three hot things that are going on in digital in June 2021. And a lot of our conversation today is going to focus on iOS, the battle between Apple and Facebook, and what you can proactively do as a CMO, as a marketer to really get ahead of the curve. Before we dive into these three things that Derek wants to share today, Derek, do you want to give a little background on your role of No Typical Moments and your experience in digital?
Yeah, sure. So thanks, Andrew. I am a media buyer advertiser here with No Typical Moments. I've been part of the team for over a year now, managing a number of different campaigns across a few different platforms. I have 6 years of paid advertising experience, pretty much full-on intensive media buying for about 6 years, managed about 3.5 million in ad spend since about 2016. And that's primarily across Facebook, Instagram, as well as Google Ads, search and display, and now kind of diving in pretty heavy with YouTube as well. Other than that, been in digital marketing as a whole for around 11 years now. Built out some very robust funnels on a lot of different marketing automation suites, and really kind of jack of all trades, kind of dabbled in everything at this point.
And with iOS, this has been new for everyone in 2021. We heard rumors at the end of 2020 this was coming. And maybe you can just share, Derek, to start off before we go into your three things. What is this iOS update everyone's been freaking out about for a long time? And then dive right into some the three tips you have.
Yeah, for sure. So just in a nutshell, iOS 14 specifically gives users the ability to opt out of third-party tracking from websites. So a site like Facebook is having a big problem because we are unable to track a user's experience with our ads. So it leads to a number of different issues. We aren't able to cater ads as well as we used to because we don't have as much visibility on a unique person or user. We also lose a lot of granular data within our tracking, and that hurts from two different standpoints. First, it hurts the algorithm itself because it's having a harder time gaining momentum and building that perfect persona for whatever our ideal product or result is. So if it's looking for somebody who's the ideal person to buy a specific product, they're missing a lot of data to help build that person. So I always picture that picture of like a man built out of a puzzle, and now we're just losing a lot of those puzzle pieces. And then from our side as marketers, we are losing data on the reporting side of things, and it's made it a lot more difficult for us to have a centralized location for where we're finding it and collecting our data, which of course makes it difficult for us to make good decisions about how to pivot our campaigns, what's working and what's not. So before I even knew that we were talking about iOS today, all three of my What's New in Digital are already within the kind of realm of what's happening because of the update. So it worked out pretty well, even though I didn't really know that's what we were mainly focusing on, but you can tell because of that, like as a marketer, that's all we're focusing on right now.
Yes.
So as most of the advertisers at NTM will know with talking to me, one of my favorite things right now is lead generation on Facebook. So the ability for us to collect leads within Facebook without taking a user to a landing page and asking for information there. It's something you can implement. It's a campaign objective. You can do it in Facebook or on Instagram. And it's something that when I show it to a client, they're always blown away that this is available. And many people don't even know they've gone through one of these lead ad kind of channels before. But what's really nice about it is you already have the information pre-populated, and that information is the information that Facebook has on you. So what's great about that for a marketer's standpoint is that we know it's the information that is going to tie back to a profile on Facebook. So we have a better opportunity of you not changing your email address to some other email box that you use for your junk campaigns, or just getting marketing information and things like that. And it's also super simple. It's also, in my mind, very engaging because people haven't ran into it that often. And another thing is that it makes people feel good, I think, because it's an environment that they're familiar with. So they're not being taken to a landing page where they're giving their information to some random page that they really don't know all that much about. We're collecting their data right in Facebook. They're not going anywhere. So it's kind of the same vibe to me as
Derek,
like,
I have a quick question there. So with these lead form ads, in your assessment, what are the quality of the leads like? Are they as high a quality as leads we're generating through landing page opt-ins?
I think they're going to be a little bit less warm as somebody that would be opting in on a landing page. I think you weed out some of the people that give fake information, but obviously we're asking for a little bit more work from the end user when we go to a landing page for them to get there, digest the information, and then give that data over. But we do see a bigger volume. So you're going to have a larger base there. And that, again, as a marketer, goes into making better audiences. More engagement gives you better opportunities to remarket. So I would say it's kind of a toss up in terms of the cost benefit for it.
And then the advantage as well is that we're not losing that tracking data of someone going to a landing page if they opted out of the iOS 14 tracking, correct?
So that's actually an issue. So if somebody opts into a lead ad form, but has their tracking turned off, we don't get to see that as an opt-in within the Facebook ads manager. So I find that very puzzling because they've literally opted in to the campaign. So you would think they've opted in, like you should be able to see it. So another reason why I like this, and it's going to touch on a few of the other things, is it's very easy to reconcile the data in both of those places. So if I have the Facebook ads manager saying that I have 10 leads in my leads form, and I download that CSV file and I see that there's 15, well, I have 15, and I know that. And it's very easy to then see what the effect of iOS 14 was on that particular campaign. So it's real weird. We kind of went through as an advertiser group some quizzes, a little pop quiz, and that was one that pretty much everybody got wrong, was whether or not you would see that data when somebody opts into a lead ad.
So the NTM team of advertisers are putting quizzes on each other to see where we're at. Is that Tiffany's idea?
Yeah, nice. Yeah. She's been throwing them at us for a while, and we did pretty good. I'd say it was a pretty good result, but that was one that stuck with me for sure. I got it wrong. I assumed that was going to be something we could get, but it's good to know. And like I said, I think it's a great solution because it's so easy to reconcile both lists with each other.
Awesome. So that's marketing trend number one.
Yeah, for sure. Right. So I know it was a lot.
What's number two?
Yeah. So I'm actually going to jump to my third one, and then we can go back to number two because I think it plays well with it. So I think the value of marketing analytics tools and CRMs, multiple forms of tracking. So utilizing UTMs has been something that I think marketers as a whole have always done just out of habit, but not that many people really utilize them to actually find them in their Google Analytics or their marketing analytics platform that they're tracking, or their CRM or anything like that. But I think, again, because the water's gotten a bit murky with everything that's going on with iOS 14, the more data points and tracking that we can have in place within our digital campaign ecosphere is for the best. So the more data points that we can look to and make decisions and kind of build fill in those puzzle pieces is going to help. So I know Wicked Reports is one that we use a lot. A lot of our clients have great success with it. They put out a fantastic podcast that went over a lot of the iOS 14 things. And that was really a good tool for me to use to kind of see that. But even taking it back to a base level of doing just very detailed UTM so that you can follow it in Google Analytics, if that's all you're doing and you don't want to pay for a marketing analytics suite or something like that. Or if you're using any sort of CRM, HubSpot, Infusionsoft, anything like that, the more data points that we can look at around a campaign to piece those pictures together, the better.
So tip number three. Or tip number 2 is we're going back in time.
Yeah, we're going back up a little bit. So that one just fit well, so I figured we'd jump there. But kind of taking it a little bit away from the iOS 14 stuff, but still within that realm, is display ads on Google is something that I have been following a lot in the last couple of years, the last year or two specifically. There's just a lot of really cool things that you can do. And in the beginning, to me, it was very much like a billboard, right? You just threw it out there. You don't know who's seeing it. You just kind of judge by overall amount of impressions or whatever. But I think it's come a long way, and it again kind of shows how much data Google has on its users. And it's interesting. Facebook has made quite a stink about this iOS update stuff, but you haven't really heard anything from Google. And that's because Google does a pretty good job of building its personas with all of the data that it has all on its own. So I think that lends itself, the quietness that's coming from that corner is confidence in my mind. But taking it back to display campaigns, are the custom affinity and custom intent audiences that you can use. So these are things above and beyond just basic retargeting or basic keyword targeting. So custom affinity is basically, we're telling Google, I want to reach an audience that has searched for keywords like these or have visited URLs like these in the past. So, we're very much in a very relevant mindset of those users. And then custom intent is we're asking Google to target people who have specifically searched for keywords or specifically visited URLs. So it's one level deeper with custom intent. And what I've found very useful with custom intent is that we can literally target people who went to our competitors' landing pages. And that's just a great way to kind of piggyback. Say you're new to an industry, you can kind of piggyback on a competitor that's been there for a lot longer because you're able to kind of catch that relevant traffic. And, just to kind of sum it all up, I think this fits in with the overall theme of tracking across multiple different ways in terms of, iOS has made it difficult on Facebook to see some things, and just diversifying. And that's something that we've talked about at NTF for a while now, is having our customers diversifying their spend across larger networks and different networks. The bigger audience pools that we can build on your website, the more confidence we can have in building audiences on all of these platforms.
So for someone who's listening who has achieved success, let's just keep it on Facebook, whatever they're defining as a healthy ROAS and ad spend, they're wanting to start to diversify. What are some things they should be looking for to know it's time? And then what platform would you recommend they dive into first?
So I think that if you've really dived into Facebook and you've utilized a lot of audiences, and you're kind of at a point where you're kind of reskinning the same cat for the 8th different way to find an audience that's very similar to what you're targeting, it may be a nice time to kind of look elsewhere, because you may have audience that's out there that's not particularly on Facebook, even though we know everybody kind of is. May be able to catch them at a different point in the purchase cycle on a different platform. And looking at frequency is always going to be a big thing for me. How many times has your winning audiences seen your ads at this point? Is it time to kind of move out there? I would definitely say that Google is going to be my first go-to there. And I like the display. I think display, especially if you're very comfortable in the Facebook realm, it fits very well because you're working with similar graphics, similar style ads. And I really do think that display has come from more digital billboards to a much more Facebook style campaign targeting, because we're able to actually get people into the same kind of interest or behavior based targeting that we've seen. But you can't go wrong with working out, and as we've talked about, a search campaign based on your rockstar keywords. That's basically sitting down, jotting down your 5 to 10 keywords that are so one-to-one with your business that you couldn't describe your business without them. And I think that starting off very conservatively with a small campaign targeting those keywords is going to show you a lot of ancillary keywords that have trickled into those that you may not have known were relevant to your business, that you can kind of then begin to branch out into.
Awesome, Derek. Thank you for that insight. And I do have one other question. This is a bonus because we've had a little bit of talks around TikTok, and I know you've done some experimentation on this platform. What predictions do you have for TikTok as we get through the rest of 2021?
So TikTok was an interesting one for me. I definitely feel like I'm a bit out of the age range to really understand everything that's happening in there. It's kind of like watching a fireworks show. There's just loud noises and flashing lights all over. But really TikTok for me, that the two things I took away is that its demographic is very young. So if you have a product that fits in with the younger generation, to get your reach and awareness, it's a great platform. Cost CPM is super low. The one thing that I'll say that was the biggest takeaway that I had was that CPM, so getting in front of people, was very easy, very cost efficient. It's just understanding the mindset of, are these people looking to get off of TikTok to go to a website and then opt in? I don't know if that's the mindset that they're in many times. It's just there to, digest information. But as part of that halo effect of just building your brand, I think it's a great way to get in front of people. And they've actually, so their ad platform is very much in a beta program right now. They don't have the unlimited suite, and it's very unique in that, like, all of us marketers are familiar with on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, your ads are advertising on behalf of a page or an account. Whereas on TikTok, they are completely separate. So you really can't build up a brand page or account on TikTok. You're just advertising your website or your app, and that is running in a completely different kind of ecosphere. This is the second time I've used that term, than you are as your personal account. So I think that's something to take into consideration. But they did just launch, going back to point number one, a lead ads campaign objective where you can get that information. And I think that was a recognition that people don't want to leave TikTok. So let's get the information that we can while they're on it, and then keep them moving through the experience that they're kind of expecting. So I definitely think that, again, as a brand awareness, a builder of more views, it's going to be more and more important.
So would you say the user experience is like a YouTube versus a AdWords campaign or Facebook? Is YouTube the most comparable to it?
I'd say so. Yeah, it's maybe even comparable to like an Instagram or a Facebook story ad. As they're just kind of running through, they're going to get a quick kind of dose of what you're offering, and then it's on to the next. So I would really look to CPM as being that main driver of what, how far your dollar's going.
Awesome, Derek. Thank you for joining, and thank you everyone for listening to the What's New in Digital June 2021 edition.
My pleasure. Thank you, Andrew.